Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're working on the old Chinese quad bike again, and we've got a problem where the chain is worn out completely and both the sprockets are worn out too. Usually if you replace the chain on your bike, you should also replace both the front and the back sprockets. If you don't, you'll basically wear the chain out quickly because the sprockets are already worn. I've got a little bit of wobble there, not ridiculous. The trouble is the chain keeps falling off when you go over bumps. I've tightened this chain over and over. I had to take a link out. The easiest way to tell if your chain is worn out, if you look down here, you'll see you can pull the chain away from the back sprocket. Wouldn't matter how tight I had that. If you've got free play here, you know it's basically had it. Here's the after shot for those who don't watch all the way to the end. If I try and move that chain now, there's no play at all. There's a little bit up and down here, but down here, there's absolutely nothing. So that's a pretty good indication of how you can tell if your chain is stretched beyond repair. Shop dog. Get my head anywhere near the ground and she's there. To get this sprocket off, you've got to take the axle off and pull apart all of this business. But we'll show you how to do that one piece at a time. It's not that hard, just a little time consuming. But let's get into that. All I do is, I've got a chunk of wood about the right height. I'll stick it up on there, if I can pick it up. That'll balance there. It's got the bike off the ground now, the wheels will spin. Find the joining link. Some people like to call it the master link. As luck would have it, that's it there. So I'll just get a pair of pliers and we'll take that off. Where'd it go? Put my glasses on, that'll help. These are the kind of things that fall off when you don't want them to come off. Alright, maybe a little screwdriver. Alright, you just talk amongst yourselves for a second and I'll get that off. Alright, I managed to budge it. I just got my screwdriver and pushed it that way a little bit and it popped off. So that little piece comes off. The link is in 3 pieces. So that, actually, let's just put that back on there. I doubt if I'll ever need this, but I'll have a spare if I do. The other way to tell when your chain is buggered, once you've got it off, how far it bends that way. See the arc this makes if I hold it sideways? Chain shouldn't do that. I'll get up, that's making almost a half a circle. I'll get the new one out in a minute and I'll show you how far that one sags. Hopefully all the bits I need are in there. I don't normally do unboxings. Now let's just lay this chain next to that one. It's already in a circle, but that won't matter. You see, that's as far as it bends in that direction, won't go any further. So that's a pretty big difference there. So if your chain's doing that, you really know it's buggered and it's time to replace it. The other question, I'm sure is on all your lips, is how do you know what chain to buy, because there's so many different sizes. I'll show you. Let's see if I can spot one of those numbers. I can see them on the new chain. what does that say? 428H. There you go. So for my bike at least, with the it's a 200cc Chinese clone of a Honda, that's what size chain it takes. It's not written on every link. Some links there. It's like on about every 10th link on this side. Ah. If you look at this one, there it is there. Just before I pull the sprocket off, you'll see here my adjusters are about midway through their adjustment there. So I've got to chop the new chain to be the right length. I had to basically count how many links there were on the old chain and order one chain that's longer than that, so as the old chain is stretched. So I'll need more links on the new one. So just count the number of links and add a few when you're buying your new chain. Now I've got both my chains laid out next to each other on the bench. You can see here they're about at the same height there. So if I come over the other side, you can see my new chain is longer than the old one, which is good. I didn't buy way too many links. It looks like about 2 links there, because each link is an innie and an outie. So let's mark out where we want to knock the pin out and go for that then. Now I can always make this shorter, but I can't make it longer. Alrighty, so there's the pin that I marked. All I need to do is grind that head off until it's flush with the top plate there. Like that. You can still see the ring of where the pin is, so I know where to whack it. So now we just get a pin punch, or you can sharpen up a 6-inch nail or blunten off a 6-inch nail and knock it out, but I'll show you how that works. Just got a pin punch, basically small enough to go through one of these links. A little hammer, might just move it back there so I can grip the actual link. Shouldn't be hard to get out. Famous last words, as usual. Don't want to damage the other links here. Might turn it around the other way, so I'm holding the ones that I don't need. Like that. Alrighty. Quick rethink. got a little dent in this piece of wood. Put the one we want to knock out over the hole. Now I should be able to whack it a bit harder without damaging anything. That's got it, started to move now. Yana, the shop dog, is here helping me out. She likes to hang out underneath the truck and just watches what goes on. She's actually getting a bit old now and she's deaf. The ears look like they're working, but they're not. Watch this. Yana. Yana. Can't hear a bloody thing. But she's still a good girl. All right. First thing we'll do is we'll take the brake calipers off. We don't need to undo the brake line and let all the oil out. And more importantly, don't let the air in. So we'll undo these 2 bolts and just lift that out the way. I just like to put the bolts back in the holes, that way you can't lose the bloody things. These calipers don't actually work. The brake pads fell out when they were new. There's still one in there, but the other one's missing. So one of these days I'll replace it, but we don't really need brakes where we're going. Then we'll just undo these 2 so they're loose. Like that. Next we need to undo this bolt and this bolt, and there's 2 more the same size down the bottom here. In case you're wondering, these ones were 13mm and the brakes were 10. And that one is 19. Set him to undo. Where I've got the block here, that's part of the frame, not part of the axle. So I can take the whole axle off completely now and the bike will sit there by itself. So I'll just get my high-speed ratchet out. Now, it might have been easier to take the wheels off on the bike, but whatever way, it doesn't matter. You need to get at least 1 of the wheels off, maybe 2. To do that, we'll just take it off from the middle. If we take these out, it will leave the hub on, and we've got to take the hub off anyway. So let's leave the wheel on and that's one off. Now I think what happens is this flange is actually built onto the axle. So I undo the bolts. The sprocket has to go that way. Therefore I've got to take the rest of this crap off. So let's get the other wheel off, basically the same as what you've just seen. Just to prove it, I'll take these nuts off there. Might need the shock treatment. Nope. To the bench. Wonder who did those up. I'm talking to myself. I think there's a spacer in there that needs to line up. I'll just leave that in there so I get them all back around the right way. There's my culprit. Let's just compare it to the other one. Alrighty, when I line these up, there's the same number of teeth. The hole diameter on the inside is the same. These cutouts don't line up, but they don't matter. That's just to reduce the weight a little bit. So I've got the right sprocket. The teeth don't actually look that worn. Usually you'll see an up and a down side where the teeth eventually become hooked. You can see it a little bit, but I think they're still pretty even. But anyway, if you're replacing the chain, you might as well replace your sprockets as well. Let's put this back on then. And that's all the way in there. We can do that up in a minute. We'll break this back on. Remember, these nuts go on the inside onto that spline. Then those two nuts go on here. Alrighty, let's just do the inside one up first, get that out the way. Now, just hold that back on the shaft again so it doesn't spin. I have 3 hands. The shafts actually tape it a little bit. God knows why they bothered to do that. So we'll do the first one up. Okay, that's tight enough. I don't think it needs to be silly tight. We'll do that one up against it. There we go, that should be tight enough. We can go back onto the hub again. Seems a little tight in places there. Oh, that's already better. sure that'll ride up with wear. Perhaps the pre-tension on those lock nuts is important. I might back them off a tiny bit. See whether that improves. The last thing you want is it to be rattly. Just want to make sure I don't cross thread this. Looks like the very edge of that bolt right there, the thread is just turned over a little bit. I don't know whether you can see that. I'll just give it a touch on the grinder. What you're looking for is a nice little bevel on the front and a chamfer. That thread doesn't do anything apart from just get the bolt started. That's better already. Put the sprocket on the right side, like that. You can put the top two in first and it'll swing on that, and then we can line up the bottom ones. If these are all dirty and gungy, give them a clean up on the wire brush. Okay, now the way this tensioner works, which wasn't obvious before, this part, still not obvious now. Have I got something wrong? No, that's right. Now the way this tensioner works is it just slides up and down. Easy as piss. What's stopping that? Nothing. I just get a lever. There you go. So that just swings up and down, pivots on the bottom things. Okay, I've ordered a new one. This is the old one still. I'll put it back on. When I look at the actual shape of the teeth there, you can see they're a little worn, but I don't want to put up with the bite being out of service for 4 or 5 days while I wait for it to show up. You will notice this side is not worn, but when you look at that side, it's quite shiny. What happens is the chide, this is from the inside of the chain, and I think the back swing arm is a little bent, and no matter how I try, I can't get them any straighter than what it is, and the chain tries to ride up on here, and I think that's one of the reasons the chain comes off all the time. But certainly having a less stretched chain will be the ticket. If you wonder how these things work, there's a spline on the inside of that washer there, and there's a spline obviously on the inside of the sprocket, but the teeth are offset to the hole. So when you put it on and the holes line up, you'll see these two splines don't line up anymore. So the chain, the sprocket can't pull off because it's captured in that little groove down there. Can we see little groove? Up higher. Yeah, there it is. So that's the little groove that captures that funny washer. Anyway, let's get it back together. So we'll put this on, same way it was. I'll put the worn off side inwards, like that. Then this one can go on, and I'll have to give it a little bit of a turn in that groove, so the holes line up, somewhere there. We'll put our 2 little bolts back in. Okay, so even with it tight, you'll see there's a wiggle there, but nothing to do about that. That's how it is. So we'll put it back out of gear. That'll make it easier to put the chain on. Something like that. So we've still got our joiny link on there. One thing I've just realised is I haven't put the bolts back in the bottom yet, so I'll do that first. Put the spring washer and the flat washer. Never liked that combination, you always think it's a bit of a waste, but that's what it is. This thing's got a bit of an angle on it, so we'll put the flat side towards the frame. That's got it. Just a bit of a bugger to line up. Oh, what's going on there? Maybe there's a bit too much play in these bolts at the top there. What happens if I try and pick it up a bit? Yeah, that's probably it. I can't have had the one in the other side in too well because it just fell out. After me convincing myself I got it started. Yeah, that's definitely started. Through the other side. I wonder whether the flat washer would go better underneath there. No telling whether this was put together originally in the right order or not. If I put the flat washer underneath there, that'll give it a better angle. Like that. Yeah, that's much better. Same on the other side. Before I make those any tighter, we have to get the chain on. Before I can get the chain on, I'll have to take our joiny link off there. I'll need pliers. Here comes Shop Dog. Hello, Yana. How you going? Are you helping, dog? Wish someone could teach a dog to remove these clips. Come on, you bugger. That's got it. Come on. There we go. So we put those two together there. Then, actually they need to go one more. I'll have to move this a little bit more that way. That's got it. We can put that one in there. I like to put the joining link on the inside. Got less chance of catching on something. Shop Dog back again. Hello. He's a good girl. Hello. It's not dinner time yet. Off you go. So now we can just tension that up a little bit. Like that. And we want to try and make sure we aim the sprocket here directly at the front sprocket, and it usually points a little bit too out, so I need to make sure it goes as far as that way as these adjustments will let us. So we'll just tighten these a little. Tighten these a little, then we can tighten up these ones. It's actually a pretty good tension already. So when it's all done up, these don't really do anything, they're just to adjust it. So we'll give them a bit of an adjust. If I pull this one in, it should tend to tip it this way a little bit, which will point it away from that sprocket there. And then we'll just nip this up. Try and make sure they don't fall off with the vibration. Now we'll tighten up these four. Make sure these are still tight. A little bit of play. I think that's beautiful. Let's put the wheels back on. gonna need 2 hands. Okay guys, I reckon we can call that fixed. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. It really helps the channel. And give us a thumbs up if you like the video, or if you got something out of it. Don't be afraid to comment if you want to ask a question, or just tell me that it worked for you. And we'll see you on the next one. I can't really see you.